What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Tough Friends Don't Last podcast. I'm Grandpa on this screen. That's Michelle Zingoulis on the other screen, who hid her name probably for privacy purposes. I didn't even know that you could do that. You can know my name. It's fine. I don't care. Say what's up, Michelle, and tell us about the mood you're in right now.
What's up, Michelle? Um, I am in a very bad mood, and it is going to come across in this podcast. So I'm gonna talk the least amount possible.
It's not how podcasting works, but we'll see how that theory goes. But first, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor, the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast. It's presented by Rhino Races. Rhino Races is a virtual race series that offers five different races: a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, a marathon, and the one of a kind Rhino Ultra. You can sign up for one or all five of our races at rhinoraces.com. Run your race at your convenience. Track it with your fitness app of choice. Screenshot your results as proof of completion. Submit that screenshot to rhinoraces.com under the submit results section. That's how it works. And once your results are verified by Rhino Races staff, your award will be shipped to you by mail. Also, check out their gear section for t-shirts, wristbands, decals, and more. That's rhinoraces.com. Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series. And you can find us, the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X, Instagram, and TikTok at TR Don't Last.
You did.
Okay, so this podcast room that I do this in, it's my spare bedroom with my wood panel, walls around me. It gets very cool in this room. This is the coolest room in the house. So I actually had a blanket over me before we clicked record. And as I was reading things off, I started to get hot a little bit. It's what degrees outside right now? It's
It's
Sunday, August 18th, for those of you wondering.
it is 100 degrees outside right now.
All right. So I've got
The
my
toaster.
thermostat set at 72. It is actually 72 in the house. My AC unit condenser and everything is only about 2 years old, and I religiously change the filter every month. So it works very, very well. So I'm very particular about it because I want it to be running in tip top shape because the one I had when I first moved in here was trash. It did not work well. And so fortunately, they got me a new one and I take as good a care of it as possible. And it is what's the thermostat in your place right now, Michelle?
It is
Set at what is it actually?
it is set at 72, and it is 75 degrees in my house because I don't have trees or anything, so I get direct sun all day, every day, and it's hot. And this house was built in the 1940s, so it has very little insulation, and it it's hard to cool. It's hard to heat in the winter, which I don't mind in the winter because I like being cold, but it's hard in the summer, and it is hot in this house. That
What
is
is
one
your
of the
thermos?
reasons. What?
What do you keep your thermostat at in the winter?
55?
All right. So clearly a very cold-hearted individual, Michelle Gonzalez. For those of you that don't know, I know her on a personal level, so I can attest to that. She's a good person overall, though. Okay, so last week I had a pretty good week of running training. I had the Watermelon 5K in Hope. Had a good performance basically for what it was. Didn't give my all, but didn't have to. At least that's what I felt like. And then I did the podcast like usual last week. And then, like I usually do, I decided to mow after. And it wasn't even that hot this time last week. I don't remember what the temperature was this time last week. I don't think it was even 90 degrees, was
I
it?
think it was in the high 80s. We had like a cool front move in last weekend.
Which is great for Central Arkansas this time of year. You
Yes.
can't beat that. And so I went out and I mowed, and the yard really needed it. So I was out there all day mowing. But I've mowed in much hotter temperatures before, and I ended up the next day at work. I was not immobile, but I had trouble walking. I was basically walking with a limp because I got at least the top five, I would say top three worst chafe spot in my life on my inner thigh. Just my left side, just my left inner thigh. The right one was fine. So I don't know what the deal was. And I'm talking like big, like long, little wide, but deep. And I mean like bloody, like open wound stuff. And I didn't realize how bad it was till I got up off the toilet one day and there was blood on my toilet seat from the chafe spot. You're shaking your head. What's wrong?
I don't understand why we have to talk about these kinds of things on the podcast. They are inappropriate. I don't want to hear about them.
Why is it inappropriate?
I don't want to hear about your bowel movements, which you also
Whoa.
like to talk about.
Who said anything about bowel movements?
Maybe not this podcast, but many of others you have talked about that. And I
Part
don't
of
want
it.
to hear about open wounds.
Things happen in running life. This is the show. This is what it is. Things happen, especially when you're mean. You have sensitive skin, and especially apparently on the inner thigh because it was bad. It's just now kind of gotten to where it's healed ish. Here we are a week later, and I'm planning to go mow today in this. Now I'm just going to mow the backyard and like a very small section of the front. I don't see a need to weed eat or anything like that, so it should be pretty quick. And the Indiana Fever are playing in 13 minutes on ABC. So when we wrap this up, I'm going to go catch the rest of that game, and then I'll mow after that. But it should be pretty quick because the yard's not going to be difficult to mow in the back. I'm just trying to keep everything from growing too high. And I honestly I need some exercise, but because of the chafe spot, I did zero running this week, and I'm sure I'm plan to pick things back up Wednesday, assuming there's no setbacks today. Well, I'm gonna prep accordingly to try to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, did zero running this week. Hated it to an extent. At the same time, I got to take my time at work. I got to get to bed at a semi decent hour. At least tell me did your Wi-Fi go out? Apparently, it was my internet this time. So we have the greatest internet connections. Apparently, that's what it is. What was I talking about? I realized that we were having trouble because I did actually spot your face just stood very still for a good 30 seconds or so.
You had said my and then it froze, so
Okay. We'll
I don't
see how much of that y'all got. It wasn't much that you missed last week, so probably not much this week, especially considering neither of us got anything done running wise. Here we are, a running and life show, and neither of us did anything like that this week. I plan to pick things back up Wednesday, and assuming there are no setbacks today. And yeah, it sucked. I hate not being able to get my runs in. I feel a lot better after a run, physically, mentally, everything. And to not get to do it this week, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of nice to have a week off from it. It wasn't because it's been if you know anything about me and the stuff I've been dealing with the past year, basically, it's been a rough year. So to have a little bit of a break just from anything was nice. So I'm not going to say it was terrible. It's like, oh no, I got to go home and just like cook something and watch TV. Don't hit your mic, Michelle. For those of you watching on Spotify and YouTube. But I don't want to go another week without getting a run in. I mean, that's as much mental therapy as it is physical for me. So I don't want to miss another week of doing that. Michelle apparently broke her microphone or
We're good.
something.
We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you take it out with your Stanley Cup? What happened?
This is not a Stanley. I don't own a Stanley Cup, first of all. think that we need to point that out. This is a Starbucks.
Why'd you say it like that? Are you hating on the Stanley Cup people?
I just okay. I
I
can't,
hockey Stanley Cup,
right?
the trend for girls, I think.
Yes. I can't hate on the Stanley Cup because I have a makeshift Stanley, but I do not own an actual Stanley.
I mean, I got a knockoff Yeti. I get it.
Yeah. I'm an Awala girl myself.
A koala girl.
Awala.
Is that the brand, I guess?
It is. It's the you've seen my water bottle. It's the one that has the straw that you can also like drink from.
How do you drink from it? Can you show us again?
No, we're good.
I've
Um
never seen you drink like that out of it. You just use the
I
straw.
just use the straw. But I have two of those. I have a 40-ounce one and I have a 20-ounce one. So I'm an Awala girl.
Okay. Well, mine Yeti knockoff is a standard size one. It's not very big. Um, yeah, I'm just one guy without kids, so I don't really need it. And yeah, I don't know. Well, I keep thinking of ways to use it. Like I think of the next time I'm gonna go or I want to go fishing. Probably not till like October. 'Cause it's gotten so hot. I don't want to get out in this for a long period of time. And also, I realized today I was like, I need to get like actual long sleeves for doing yard work and being outdoors in for fishing and things like that. No, I've got the hat. I've got the hat for fishing, but I need like long sleeves and stuff because that's the one part of my body that's like tan is my arms. But even then, it's like that much sun isn't good for you.
It's not.
So yeah, I need something to cover up. I was actually thinking that today. It won't be today that I do that, but I won't be out all day today, so it should be all right. How's your back doing, Michelle? Maybe that's what I asked before I realized your face was frozen here on the screen.
My I'm gonna need some to find some wood to knock on. Um, Today is the first day that I have not had back pain in what, 3 weeks? So I might be able to get back on the bike this week. We're gonna play it day by day, obviously, but yeah, we're doing good today.
Midnight's making an appearance for those of you watching on Spotify and YouTube. He's been a good boy today, right? Is what you were telling me before we clicked record.
He has not been a good boy today at all. He is getting on every last nerve that I have. And I feel like he's doing it on purpose. So
He's
he's
just
not,
thirsty and he's hungry. It's hot outside.
yes. But he's not drinking his water or eating his food. And this is not the him drinking the cat water started like a week ago, and it's really frustrating because then the cats don't have water. But he's just starting to eat the cat food, and I've been able to keep that cat food out the entire time since I've had him for 7 years now. I've been able to keep the cat food out, and it has never been an issue. And now he's like, "This is my food." He's doing great. He's making really good choices today.
I think so. I don't think you should segregate their water. I think you're going back to like the 40s and 50s and the segregation days when you're segregating dog water, cat water. I mean, water's water. Let's just all drink water together. Like we need to bring the species dogs and cats, together. And I think a good way to do that is to just have everybody drinking water out the same bowl. So maybe he's onto something. Maybe he's just, trying to revolutionize things, trying to bring progress um,
So I used
to
to do
cats
that.
and dogs.
I used
What?
to do that. However, very similar to your dog, when this dog drinks water out of a normal bowl, more of it gets on the floor than in his mouth. that's part of having a Great Dane. He's got big lips. And so water goes everywhere. I've known that, but I found a water bowl. It is called the Slobber Stopper. And the idea, and it works very well. He can't like like throw water all over the place. He can't drip water
It shows
everywhere.
again how he normally throws it all over the place.
Anyway, so but him drinking out of the cat bowl, which holds 6 ounces of water, which is like 1 sip for him, half of it ends up on the floor. Anyway, so he needs to go back to using his water bowl because I'm tired of cleaning up water. And I'm tired
It's
of
not really
refilling the cat bowl.
it's not really a sip. It's more like a dog's tongue is basically like a ladle, just reaching in and retrieving water and pulling it to their mouth. You ever seen a slow-mo of a dog drinking water? That's what it is.
Okay, so it's 1 spoonful of water for him. If that. Probably not even a full spoon for him. The cat bowl.
Well, you're gonna miss it one day. So just remember that. When you hold these feelings of anger towards him, just let it go. He's behind you. He's a very handsome, sweet-looking fella. If you want to show us there, how could you not love that? And how could you stay mad at that?
It's pretty
See,
easy, actually.
it's pretty what?
Easy.
Mm, I don't know. I don't see it. He's a good kid at the end of the day. If that's the worst thing that he's done, then he's a pretty good dog in my book.
Yeah, and he's got a week left of him living here full time. So he's
Well, that's rude.
acting
Basically,
out.
I can't wait to kick him out. I can't wait to kick him out from the house full time. Such an awful thing to say. Just in general, especially on the show for the internet and everybody to see forever.
He loves where he goes. He is ready to go to his best friend's house. He's gonna live his best life there, and then he'll come back and live with me on the weekends. So
All right. Well, Dexter's not going anywhere. Yeah, he don't even leave the house anymore when I'm at work. He just stays here at the house. You did get my cat some toys. I didn't really see the need for cat toys. I mean, just because I've never owned a cat, because I've always been like, I did own one as a kid for like 3 hours, and parents realized how allergic I was and gave the cat away. Um, so yeah, haven't had a cat enough to know that toys were. I don't know if they're necessary, but it certainly helps. I did see Ichabod play with the ball last night for 5 seconds. I was like, okay, I get it now. It was quite adorable.
yes. And you didn't even get to see him like carrying the ball in his mouth. It was super cute.
Did too. I saw he picked it or she picked it up and carried it somewhere.
Okay.
She carried the little wand thing
She did.
to the bottom of the TV stand and just left it there.
That's the thing with cats. They love their toys. And then they will out of nowhere decide to just put them all in one place. And one day when you're cleaning, you find all of their toys. And so that's pretty fun. One of my cats loves like ponytail holders and will steal them. I can't like just leave them around because he will steal them, and then I find them months later. There will just be a collection of them that were hidden somewhere that I had just never looked.
This is Furpa.
That's Radley.
Hmm.
Furpa steals
I
like
thought his
twist
name was
ties.
Furpa.
What?
I thought his name was Furpa.
No. Furpa steals twist ties and like what is this called?
How would I know?
A zip tie.
That's a zip tie.
I've just like I've played with it for so long.
Okay, that's a funny looking zip tie.
Yeah, but
You
twist
you
ties.
never know what you're gonna get here on the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast, everyone. We're talking dogs and cats and hair thingies and zip ties.
Yes.
All right. So, well, when neither of us did any running or anything this week, any type of exercise, I won't say any type. Work is something some days for me. When you average about 12,000 steps per shift, I mean, I'd say that's exercise, but not the kind that I like or used to get better at, train with, etc. Uh, my next race is, as said last week, August 31st in North Little Rock. It's a local one, the ARK 5K Classic. I don't know if I assume they say the ARC 5K. I don't know. Is it
I
the
don't.
ARK or the ARC 5K? I don't know. But I don't know what they actually call it, other than just reading it. Nobody's actually said it out loud. But that's my next one, and you were saying you weren't going to do it, although you did throw in your name for a free registration, I believe it was, that they were handing out. And you had the same. I actually had better luck than you did. I at least made the wheel. As far as the drawing go, you didn't even make the wheel, and you were like one of the first people to comment, right?
Yeah, I was the second person to comment, and I did not make the wheel. I guess apparently I did not meet all of the qualifications, which were unclear. So, there were 11 people that commented, and only 7 out of those 11 people made the wheel.
And you think it's just because you weren't part of the group? Is that right?
So it said you had to be a member of the group, and I was a member of the Facebook group, but I think you had to be a member of like their actual group. So like their run club. And if that's the case, they should have said be a member of our club, not our group.
Yeah, that could, I guess. Although I made the wheel and I'm not in their club. I've been like a member of their Facebook group for several years now. So there's that. I don't know.
I don't
You
know.
are a newbie with the group, I believe, right?
I joined when you tagged me.
So
Uh,
yeah, you're pretty much a newbie.
yeah.
Yep, you didn't. How did it make you feel not even seeing your name on the wheel?
Like it's one thing to just like not win, but when you think that you've met all the requirements and then you see, well, apparently not. Um, but also in full transparency, I had messaged you and said that I probably wouldn't win because of whatever reason, but I was like, there's a good chance that this is not, but if it's meant to be, it will happen. So
Yeah, you said your association with me and my luck with it, basically.
yeah.
But yeah, I had better luck than you did on it. I at least made the wheel and was at least tagged in the drawing like post.
Yeah. But the universe decided it's going to be too hot, so she would not make it. It's okay. Stay home.
So I guess you're gonna stay home that day.
Absolutely.
Well, I will be there bright and early running. That's I need to that we're basically 2 weeks away now. Less than that, just under 2 weeks away. So I need to get back in full-time training starting this week. So I really can't have any setbacks today when it comes to mowing or anything like that. So yeah, I need to get back to a normal training routine. Uh, I I talked about my chip time and my gun time at Hope. The chip time was 22:57, which I thought was right, and they changed it to 23:06, which was the gun time. And I said that going in. I remember crossing the finish line and looking and seeing 23:06 on the clock. So I knew that was wrong for the chip time. But then you go back and look at the full results, and they had it displayed that way. I think I sent a picture of it to you either the same day or like
Yeah.
Sunday evening, or and no, it was Monday, I believe. I did it at work. I remember now. So it was definitely Monday.
Yeah. It was weird that it was changed. Then it was one thing and then it was changed and then changed again.
It's a lot of results to sift through. There's a lot more that goes into a live race than people realize or think, especially when you've got a timing chip and things like that. Have you ever done a 5K or anything like that that wasn't chip timed and they did it either they didn't keep up with the time or they did it in an unconventional way?
I did a race in high school that it really was just completely based off when you crossed the finish line. So it did not matter when you crossed the start line. It was so there was no like chip or anything like that. It was just when you crossed the finish line is what place you got. And I ended up getting first place in my age group. But also that was when I was running track. And so it makes sense that I got first place in my age group.
Was it through like the school? Were you doing it like with the school, or was it just a random race that you did on a weekend?
So I represented my high school. They picked a male and female to represent the high school. But it was put on by the city of Hot Springs. So it was some 5K, but we represented the school. So both?
Okay, that sort of makes sense. Yeah, I don't know how that would work because they didn't have cross country or anything back when we were in school at Lone Oak. Um, have it now, which is neat. So good for them. When your mascot's the Jackrabbits, you ought to have several, type of running events. Just makes sense. I mean, that is kind of how they got their name. The track team ran like Jackrabbits is how the story goes. They always had track at Lone Oak as far as it goes, but cross country is pretty new.
Mhm.
Uh, so basically they figured out who placed where the same way that they did it probably in the first ever race. So it's whoever crossed the finish line is the winner.
Yeah, like you gave your bib, like they took your bib from you. And they
Okay.
just like put those in order. So that's how they knew what age group and things like that. But I don't know, it was weird because even then, like in track and stuff, we were always timed. So it was weird that there was no time, it was just place.
So you didn't get an official time.
No.
It's just where you placed.
Yeah.
Okay, well the most unconventional one that I did, I was visiting my sister when she lived in the this was I guess like five it was like a little over 5 years ago. Um it was summer, I remember just because of how hot it was. It was July. We think the heat and humidity here is bad in central Arkansas. It's worse in the further south you go, like Biloxi, Mississippi, New Orleans. It's the humidity is intense, and so I did a 5K there. I just this is back when I loved just looking up a local 5K or whatever and going and doing it. So when we were there for about 2 weeks, and I said, I wonder if there's a nearby race. And there was one in this town called Pascagoula, Mississippi, along the coast, and which wasn't far. I don't remember how far it was from Biloxi, maybe 30, 40, 45 minutes, maybe. And so my mom actually went with me. So that morning I got up and I registered, and that morning we got up and we drove and did the race, and it's one of the few 5Ks and that I actually stopped and walked like twice in. Now I was coming off of 2018 was really like the most apart from this year was my best year as far as being fit and having a really good time, like as in race time, clock time, gun chip time. It's set all the times. And 2019, I wasn't in the gym as religiously. I was like, I need a break. And so I wasn't in the gym as religiously. So my times weren't as great. So I wasn't in tip top shape going into this race, but I was still in pretty decent shape. So I go into this race and I go normal speed like I would. Well, one, they had these cool trophies for like age group winners and things for even age group winners. So I was like, ooh, I want one of those. And It was put on by the Gulf Coast Running Club, so they had some really fast people there. So I knew I was going to have to put in some effort if I wanted one. So I come out hot. So I basically got that in mind, like, ooh, I want to leave with those. If I don't leave with one of those, I'm gonna, be disappointed. So I come out hot, and um, halfway point, I mean, I'm way overheated. I'm not prepared for this level of humidity on the Mississippi coast, and yeah, I had to I think I stopped for water and just took a sip and then threw it on my face and then just made myself keep going. And um, then around like kind of toward the end, I stopped and walked for like a split second. I mean, I was so overheated. And but toward the end, I picked it up and I got competitive. And yeah, I finished and I finished in like just over 24 minutes. It was like 24:11 or something like that. So not the year prior, I was running 6 months earlier, I was running 22.5 minute 5Ks on average. And so this was over that, obviously. But it was max effort I gave, and the humidity played a big part in that. And what I'm getting at is when I crossed the finish line, we didn't have chips or anything like that. We the guy somebody was standing at the finish line and they gave us a number. And it was like a white piece of it was like a piece of paper about like rectangle length, and it had a number on it. And you just go over there and you put that number on the board, match it, and then write your name on it, I think is what you did. And that's how they determine who placed where. And they had my time listed like later on. Like they calculated the results and all that. It all made sense, but it was an unconventional way of doing it. And by the way, I did leave with one of those trophies. I got second place in my age group. It's sitting over there with the rest of them. Um, but it was I was one of two people in my age group running. So I could have walked the entire thing and left with the same trophy. But no, I really earned it that day. The guy that won it finished in like a little over 22 minutes, so no way I could have beaten him. He was very quick. But yeah, it was a very unconventional way of doing things. I was thinking like, and I don't know that I guess it was kind of cheat proof because it wasn't like you just switch numbers on the board or things like that, but it was definitely different. So it was a little bit weird, but cool, I guess. I mean, it worked. So it's we haven't had chip timing around since since racing began. So it was, I mean, really kind of common sense if you think about it. Okay, start and then run, and whoever crossed the finish line, that's how they place. It's not that hard. Um, Makes sense. But at these bigger races, chip timing does make sense. I've had people. There's a girl in my run club at the Benton 2 miler. She passed me at the end of the 2 miler, and she beat me by probably, I don't know, 5 yards, something like that. And on the overall results, I beat her. My chip time was better than hers. So I thought that was interesting. Not by much. It was by like a half a second, but it was still like ahead of her. So I found that interesting. And that does happen, especially at a larger race when you're all jumbled together at the start. And if you're not just the fastest person there, you're not going to get at the front. I get close to the front, but not right at the front because I'm not as fast as those guys. But you don't want to be like in the back either, where you're bobbing and weaving the first quarter or half mile. And I was actually doing that at Hope, and I was kind of toward the front, but I talked about this, high school kids that don't know running etiquette yet. Um, they'll learn it eventually. They'll get griped at by somebody, and then they'll figure it out the hard way, which is really the best way to learn.
Is it though?
Yeah, for kids like that, yeah, you kind of have to get griped at. Grew up to wake up. At least that's how I typically learn. I'm not saying that's the way it should happen. I'm just telling you how it does happen with me. A lot of times you have to screw up to wake up. That's me.
That is not me.
Well, not all of us are so saintly, Michelle. Um, but okay, neither one of us have done any exercise this week, but we did a pretty good job of talking about everything but that. You did you're kind of caught up on the Deadpool franchise without seeing Deadpool and Wolverine. Neither of us have seen that yet.
Mhm.
But you officially saw Deadpool 2 last night. Your thoughts on it?
I really enjoyed it. Um,
Excellent movie. Yes, I agree.
yes. I enjoy that humor. There was a part of the movie that I started crying laughing. And it wasn't even that funny, but
No, it was funny, but it was funnier how funny you thought it
um
was.
but I think that's what I like about the movie is that there's a lot of funny dialogue. But then there's also just a lot of like funny cinematography, I guess is a good way of putting it, or just like how they have characters set up and things like that. And so it wasn't even anything that was said. It was just they showed a particular part and it was so funny.
But describe it. I mean, tell us what it was. You're not, that's not spoilers at this point.
Well, it would have been for me. It wouldn't have been as funny because I don't see movies.
If
So
you haven't seen a movie and if the movie's been out for 4 years, then it's on you if you haven't
I agree with that
been
statement.
spoiled.
Um, so at one point, Deadpool gets ripped in half. And what I remembered from the first Deadpool is that
A
when
juggernaut,
what, yes.
a juggernaut. Yeah.
But what I remembered from the first Deadpool is that if he loses a body part, he regrows it. So in the first Deadpool, he had like a little hand for a while because his hand was regrowing. But because he had gotten ripped in half, he had to regrow like from waist down. And he was sitting on the couch. And they were doing a really good job of only showing his like chest as he was talking to characters. And then the camera goes back and it's just like a little kid's legs just like sitting out and he's like man spreading on the couch, basically his little legs like fully wide open. Um and I just thought it was the funniest thing because it is like full grown Ryan Reynolds and then just these little bitty legs.
Yes, it was great how funny you thought it was. Like I laughed hard. I laughed hard because of how hard you were laughing.
Oh, it was so great.
Yes, I do really want to see the new one. I've seen just about every spoiler now,
Yes.
either just hearing about it or seeing it pop up on my social media feeds. So I pretty much know all the spoilers. I won't say the latest one I saw last night, because it is a very cool part that I'm sure people, were celebrated in the movie theater. Um, my best friend has seen the movie. He rated it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Um, but yes, it's got it's got cameo after cameo. Basically, the whole movie appears to be just one cameo after another that people will get really excited about. So before I do want to see it, and I think I want to see it in theaters. You're about that.
I just movie theater, it's hard for me because I get distracted very easily. And so movie theaters are difficult.
Well, you like to get on your phone during a movie, and other people do too, and I hate that seeing other people do that, especially in a movie theater. My mom yelled at a person who got on their phone during the first Halloween movie, as in like the first time. Well, how do I say this? Basically the new franchise that they came out with, or trilogy, I guess is the term for it. In 2018, I believe it was, like a guy got on his phone in a pitch black theater, so you could see the light. It's root, I mean, we can see the light and all that. And my mom it was great. I laughed pretty hard at it. They got off their phone, jerks. But yeah, stay off your phone in the movie theater. I haven't seen a movie since the Ryan Pattinson Batman. That's the last movie I saw in the theater. Um, so it's been a couple of years since I've been to a movie theater, but the one here in Cabot's always packed. So I mean, I keep saying movies are going to be the next news. Movie theaters are going to be the next. Like they're eventually going to be a thing of the past just because of streaming. And that's probably, yeah, that could still be the case, but at least right now they're doing just fine from the appearance of things. Maybe globally as a whole, no. But I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine has grossed over $1 billion. It's officially the highest rated or the highest grossing R-rated movie ever made. Of course, things cost more now than they ever have, so there's that too. But that's something you always got to factor in. Everybody, oh, this movie is the highest grossing movie ever. It's like, well, yeah, things cost more now. So I don't know that it would have, been the same as whatever the other highest grossing R-rated movie was at the time, 10, 20, 30 years ago, whatever. Um, we're going down a different rabbit hole now, but basically, I want to see Deadpool and Wolverine, and I probably would go to the movie theater to see it. And I might talk you into it as well, see what happens. Okay, so I think we covered just about everything we could today on this episode of the Tough Runs Don't Last podcast without either of us getting any actual real exercise in this week. I will do better this week. At least that's the plan. We'll see how today goes, and then we'll go from there. And we'll be back next week and hopefully talk some more actual running stuff, but life things too, as always. But until then, I guess we'll get out of here unless you have anything else to add, Michelle.
Not at this time.
Okay, well, maybe next time. All right, I'm gonna go watch this game and get this uploaded after that. So it'll be all the same to you all. So see you next time. I'm Graham Powell. That's Michelle Zingulis. Deuces, y'all.
See ya.